Welcome back to another episode of NFT Catcher Podcast. We'd like to remind everybody that nothing on the show is meant as financial advice, and to please do your own research. Thank you, and enjoy the show.
Now the subject is NFTs.
They're known as non-fungible tokens, or NFTs.
NFTs are exploding in popularity.
This is a technology that will forever change the way people interact.
So it is happening whether you understand it and like it or not.
This phenomenon is moving the digital.
You have now joined Jenny from the blockchain and Michael Keene on the NFT Catcher Podcast.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the NFT Catcher Podcast with me, Jenny from the blockchain, and my co-host, Michael Keene. Today, you guys, we have a special guest joining us. I know it's been months since our last interview. We kind of stopped doing that. We kind of were just doing the weekly updates, but we are back, and we have the wonderful Bianca Wyler joining us. She is the head of digital collectibles at Reddit and has previously worked for Nifty's, Looney Tunes, Matrix Avatars, Game of Thrones, and she's just innovating in the digital collectible space. So, Bianca, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. I feel honored to be here, especially since it's been a couple of months since you guys have done this. So, feel privileged.
Yes. Yeah, we're excited. We're excited to chat with you. Yeah, like Michael had said right before the show, of course he's muted and trying to talk, but you guys don't know that. He's always, every single show, he tries to talk and he's muted. And I have to remind him, please unmute before you try to talk, Michael. But yeah, he was mentioning in the last pod episode about you, Bianca. Michael, I forgot what you were even saying.
Well, I hope that's good.
Well, you said, no, I didn't say too much. It was, you were in the news article about Reddit, like that you left Reddit and like people were worried what was happening with the project. I think Jenny said that Jenny was reading an old bio there. I actually do my research for the podcast.
Oh my God.
Unlike Jenny over here.
So I have an outdated intro for it.
Yeah, a joke. But so what we do to prepare, I go through the news and pull it up and your name was listed. There were like news articles about you leaving Reddit. So I was like, oh, it'd be really cool. I wonder if maybe she want to come on because that Reddit like blew up for a couple months. It was like the biggest thing. Like we had some artist friends that were on there and the prices were going crazy and the early people were super happy and there was like the limited ones and figured it'd be really cool to chat it up and see what went on over there.
I mean, in general, I can kind of, I don't know how we want to start this off, but I can go into my journey in Web3, what kind of led me to Reddit, and then you guys can ask your questions about why I left, and then I can go into that. But in general, just to get started, I've been in the Web3 space for over 10 years now, and I got kind of started the way everybody did, where you hear about Bitcoin and then it leads you down a rabbit hole. And me in particular, because I have a very large background in business development and marketing, I just found myself fascinated on the business development side. Like, how does a project or a new technology go from 0 to 100 where we're at now, right? And so back then, my friends were trading Bitcoin for super cheap. And I just remember wanting to be part of the community that was like championing this, right? So I just found myself on Reddit, actually. So, getting hired was like a whole 360 moment. And I actually, when I got interviewed for that position, that was one of the stories that I, came up with, and how I was actually a moderator for several, projects after, joining the community, being in there like a couple years. And throughout my journey in Web3, I started with Bitcoin, and then I, saw Ethereum, and then I saw CryptoKitties, and I just got down this rabbit hole. And back then it was the wild, wild west, right? Where like you've had all of these different projects. Projects even now still rock, but back then it was so crazy because you were, seeing these anon developers that were developing these really cool initiatives or things that were being built on blockchain, and NFTs and digital assets were being mentioned back then. And me being the community member that I was back then was just always volunteering and like, saying, hey guys, I have this marketing experience. Let me help you position this so that it's a little bit more public facing and, people can actually digest it, because when you first immerse yourself into the technology, it's so confusing. anybody would be confused. And even to this day, I still find myself reading some new thing that's coming up or a new protocol, and I'm still confused, right? So it's just in this space, you can be in it for 10 years like I have and still get confused on stuff. And I would consider myself pretty technically savvy. One thing led to another, and I started just volunteering. And then, 5 years now, I've been, making it my professional career, and it's been a blessing. And it's all because of the community work I did. It kind of started there. And so I found myself at Nifty's doing really cool stuff there with like the Looney Tune Matrix avatars, Game of Thrones stuff, Space Jam. And then I found myself also working with some layer ones like ICP, doing things there and all across the blockchain world. And then my experience brought me to Reddit, where I led a lot of the most recent brand enablement features and stuff that we were doing, and the community was getting really hyped. So did a lot of stuff. So I'll stop there so you guys can ask questions, or maybe we can dive into some of the stuff I've done.
Yeah, I definitely have some questions. Jenny, you have anything? I know Jenny usually starts it off, but we just kind of got into it. That's usually the first question she asks is your journey.
Yeah.
Let's circle on Nifty's a little bit, because that was always a really interesting one. Like, they had the greatest IP, the Game of Thrones, Looney Tunes, like you said, like they had all that stuff. What did they kind of do? What was their goal? And I guess it's not really successful, right? I mean, they probably made some money, but I don't know if it'd be considered successful. I want to know where you thought maybe they went wrong. Did they not build the community enough? Did they not reward people enough? Did they just sell a product?
I wouldn't say it wasn't successful. It was one of the most successful, definitely, launches. Now, there were definitely some learning lessons there for sure, but when they initially launched the Matrix avatar, actually the first launch was Space Jam. And then we built a really core community there. Shout out to Graslow, who's still in the space and building his own stuff, but he was one of like the first people that joined.
I'm pretty sure I bought those. I think I probably still have.
Yeah, I still have them.
The original Space Jam.
Yeah, so the Space
Andy
Jam
probably does too. Andy probably does too. But go ahead. Sorry.
No, yeah. When that first launched, we had a core community of individuals that were wanting us to kind of further that roadmap. And then we had the Matrix avatars that kind of was like our landmark, one of like our key IPs that launched after the fact, that created this huge, massive onboarding experience. And that was where Round the Bull cycle was starting to peak up at that time. And I believe it's still the largest collection that's ever minted. I could be wrong at this point, because there's been so many that have dropped, but I think over 300,000 NFTs were minted in a span of like 24 hours.
How much were they selling for?
I can't remember what the original ones were, but I just remember us grossing or making around $5 million in like 24 hours, which is insane. Nice. That's crazy, right? That's
amazing.
It's awesome. So you had, I joined shortly after that launch when, that happened. And then you had this community who was wanting more and more and more. And they were like, hey, we really need somebody that specializes in crisis management, but knows how to manage community and can also scale the initiatives that we're doing here. And so that's kind of when I joined, when they were starting to come down from that Matrix avatar launch, and we were getting ready to start doing the Game of Thrones stuff. And by the way, I don't know if I'm even allowed to mention this, we had like conversations with Nintendo. We had conversations with so many large IPs that were like ready to launch. But then the FTX stuff happened and everybody just kind of pulled away and were really nervous. So I would definitely say that was probably a factor of, Nifty's perhaps being stopped. But really, Nifty's actually got acquired by MoonPay. So that's one of the reasons why the Nifty platform just went away. And it was because they got acquired by MoonPay. And they got acquired by MoonPay because all of the cool stuff that we were doing with the brand enablement features and like the rewards incentives that we had for our community. And MoonPay really wanted that because they were wanting to basically scale that at large for their enterprise clients. So for like a Nike that wanted to reward their community if they bought X amount of, shoes or whatever. So they were really liking that tech, and that's what they ended up taking. And then they ended up just kind of closing all of the other stuff that we were building. And they mainly wanted the tokenization things that we were doing, and the rewards mechanism, which was cool. But there was definitely some learning lessons there. One of the things and the reasons why I joined Nifty's was because I think everybody can agree when it comes to the digital asset side that you have this large IP, or like, let's say Pokemon, right, joins and they end up launching digital collectibles and trading cards. And for me, the way I see it when it comes to digital collectibles, especially that are novelty, are I want to pass something down to my daughter that's going to continue to live on chain for the rest of her life, that won't be damaged in a fire, things like that. And so that's something that the community kind of saw, and they also, would that's something that they were passionate about and something that they can, back. So it wasn't just Matrix. I think it was the fact that we were kind of pioneering the IP space at that time with like all of these cool large IPs that we were dropping. And then, what FTX was one factor, the fact that we were going through an acquisition, and the fact that the community was wanting us to do more and more and more. And, that one of the learning lessons I've had there is that you have the Web3 crowd that is in it for one reason, and then you have the ones that are coming on the digital collectible side that are like actually interested in the IP, that are there for a different reason. And when the two kind of merge, it is a shit show. You have the ones that are there that are just excited to hold this IP and that are there talking about the fandom and stuff. And then you have the ones that are like, why is the floor price so low? And then the fans are like, what the fuck is a floor price? Why are they pissed and like making this a shitty experience for me? So it was that learning lesson there for us was like, hey, if we're going to continue to scale the IP and digital collectible side, and we really want to focus on the collectors on that, we really should not be like positioning this product as to be a Web3 native thing that these individuals should be owning. And at that point, it was like, for me, especially being the head of community at that point, it was really eye-opening to see how in that situation, you kind of have to train your moderators and other community managers to be able to manage those emotions. So that was definitely a learning lesson there. Again, I think the biggest takeaway for Nifty's and something that hurt the space at large was the FTX collapse, because FTX collapse, what most people don't realize, it affected investors. So a lot of the investors that Nifty had and people that were backing the project were being backed by FTX. So when FTX failed, investors came to us and were like, hey, we were going to invest in your Series A funding. Now we can't because of this thing that happened. So that's also another reason why it led to the acquisition and why we were starting to position ourselves that way. And then we transitioned all of the collectibles on over to Polygon. So, I mean, I think, there was a lot of learning lessons there, but it was definitely fun. I still talk to some of the core community members that are there, which is cool.
That's what's up. How did they get like so many connections? This is like the owner knew people, or?
Yeah, Jeff Marcilio, I'm still friends with him. He was part of the legal team for NBA and was very, very well connected. A lot of the BD team was very well connected with a bunch of different franchises and, connections to Warner Brothers, and being able to like basically either license or own some of the IP that we had, which is cool. So yeah, that's how that got started and sorted. But also we were in an industry where Nifty's was kind of Recur also, but Nifty's was like was definitely spearheading for sure, like those kind of cool projects. And so it was really easy. We were being reached out to at that point by a lot of large companies and IPs that were wanting to launch within the Nifty's platform. So it was a combination of the fact that we did very well with our marketing community strategy, but then it was also our business development team that like had those pre-existing connections.
That's pretty cool. I mean, go ahead, Jenny.
I was just going to say, how big of a team did you guys have over at Nifty's?
When I first joined, it was well over 50. And then towards the end, when we were getting ready to get acquired, it was like we were 10 people. Like we were just a slim staff. And I was there mainly to kind of do the community transitioning, like letting them know, hey, this is where you can mint, you're new. We just transitioned all from Palm to now Polygon. So that was what I was there for. And I was also there to kind of like at the very end, MoonPay was still kind of deciding whether or not they were actually going to also acquire the platform and not just the tech. So I was kind of there because they were still on that deciding factor on like what's important. But given everything that happened with FTX, they were like, you know what, let's just hold off on all the stuff that you guys were doing there. And like, let's just take over the tech and kind of mold that so that it fits with the stuff that they were doing on like the payment side, payment integration side, and rewards. But yeah, I was there with like 10 other people.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy because well, similar in a way. I worked for Evaluate for the last like 3 years, and then they were like, "Oh, we're gonna have to shut down. Like, we're not able to raise. Like, I don't know, in August or so." And then I find out in December that they ended up selling the tech to Doodles. I didn't even like know this. They ended up, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, you know, that's great. And they're like, "Yeah, they didn't get much money because it's like you're just selling the tech. They weren't selling the whole site. Like the site already went down, all that. So it's like, it wasn't much, but now the owners are like helping with the transition and stuff like that. But like I was like, well, that's awesome that something ended up happening with the tech because it's so sad when tech just dies off and it's just like, oh man, like you would hope that it continues to live on in some type of way. So I'm glad that MoonPay bought the tech. MoonPay, I just remember they kept buying bored apes for celebrities and punks for celebrities and like gifting them. And what was all that about? Like, I don't know.
I can't speak. You know what's funny is my boy Rivers. Was part of the Nifty's team, and he's still at MoonPay even after the acquisition. He's still there, and he's like a true Web3 degen at heart. So he knows all the stuff in Alpha. Definitely a good guy to have on a podcast too, because he's just incredibly smart. And he talks about some of the stuff that they're doing, but I can't remember specific examples of them purchasing. I must have not paid attention that much, but I do know that was happening. It wasn't just happening with MoonPay, by the way. It was like I remember being at I don't want to call them out, but being at specific layer ones and working with specific projects. And part of their community strategy was, hey, let's just buy a Bored Ape Yacht Club and let's raffle it. And like whoever, joins our, like that was just part of the strategy back then. It was very that was the meta back then for sure.
Yeah, I just feel like they had like unlimited funds. Like
I
a lot
mean,
of money.
they're a multi-billion-dollar company, so yeah, they technically still do. I just think
That's
that right
crazy.
now everybody's in a different phase. Like they're being a lot more strategic with how they're using their funding, how they're giving grants away. Again, like back when I first joined, guys, there was some stupid amount of money that was being given away, like things that just, again, learning lessons that back in hindsight, I'm like, that wasn't smart. Like all of that money could have been used in a totally different way. It could have been added. You could have added liquidity to different things. Like it would have just been, that's probably that's actually something that I talk about with some of my close friends in the Web3 space that have been around and that have just kind of gone low profile, but I still chat with, is just how differently some of the projects could have approached different things. And, I'm no different, especially on like the community and marketing side. I've definitely had my learning lessons, and I love the space for that, because this is honestly the perfect space where you can have learning lessons, and like you almost see the rest of your like colleagues doing the same mistakes that you are and also learning from them. So it's funny when I see them all like they were in one meta, now I see them doing this other thing, and so yeah, it that was just the meta back then.
Yeah, it was such a wild time, and the bear market was so brutal to so many companies, going under or getting acquired. That's the best bet, getting acquired. It was just like now it felt like we were supposed to have a bull. It just feels like I don't know. It just feels like I don't think we can ever replicate what the last bull run, like the true first crazy, parabolic bull run of NFTs were. Yeah, it's just there's not, this time around it's like it's always fun seeing the new projects come out, and there hasn't been as many. But I'm curious if you are still collecting NFTs. Do you have, a bunch of stuff you're holding on to? I see you have a Cool Cats plushie in the background. Like you have a Cool Cat.
I still support a lot of creators in the space. With Reddit, I supported a bunch I had actually two different accounts. I had my Miss Icaria account that was like the admin with the fancy Reddit badge and staff badge that was like public facing, and everybody that was like the well-known one. And on your profile, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with like the Reddit avatars and like what key features that you get when you actually mint one of the digital collectibles, but you actually get profile treatment, so that if you're a regular Reddit user and then you own an avatar and you're one of those users, they have different profile treatments. So it's kind of cool. Even like when you comment on Reddit, you have a different profile treatment that you have that kind of highlights different things that just a regular Reddit user wouldn't have. And so on my profile, I have like all of these different NFTs that are like listed there. And so a lot of them I first purchased. And what's funny is I didn't realize that when I purchased my first NFT, and that was just me kind of supporting the community and like, hey, I like this guy. And the first NFT I actually purchased was from this creator who's was actually getting bullied in the community. His name's Bagged Milk, and like just thinking about it, like it makes me tear up because that's part of what community is. But he has autism, and man, they were bullying him like crazy. And I remember being like, you know what, guys, like fuck that. I'm gonna support him, and I'm gonna like. He was putting out stuff that like you would read the comments, and they were like, man, it's like a little kid drew it, and they would say these crazy things. And then you go into his profile, and it's like just an autistic kid here expressing myself. And I got so mad at the community for that. And what's funny is I did my best to try to like not show it, like, hey, but I would go in there and sometimes comment like, hey, make sure that you remember who's behind that screen. And I went into a Discord anonymously because they didn't know that I was Miss Sakari and I was like the project lead, and I would join like their community Discord, and they were talking about him one time. And one of the guys discovered who I was, and he messaged me like, don't worry, I got your back. I'm going to keep you anon. But then I went at it with one of our community guys who's actually one of my friends now. His name Oni. And he was already upset just because I was just barely like a month into my role. And the community was already really upset because the project kind of came down from a massive bull cycle. And then Reddit had kind of just stayed silent before hiring me. So they were already upset. The community was just wanting something to happen, right? And then I come in and I see that they're bullying this kid. And I know from like the program side, because I also manage the creator accounts, that he's somebody that's autistic that uses this program as a way to express himself and just have fun. So I went in and I said, hey, and I just linked his profile. And then everybody saw the fact that he had that like prominently displayed that he's autistic and creative. And from that moment on, he has been selling out. And everybody just had his back. And it was just one of those moments because I have people in my family that are autistic. So it was just kind of near and like dear to my heart. And to see the community rally behind him. And then secretly, I purchased his digital collectible, one of the ones that to me was the funniest because it was like, you could tell it was like one of the first creations that he made. It wasn't probably the best out of the stuff that he's now made. And I put it and it's like, she has to be trolling. There's no way. Like, and it was funny because in that moment, he then started getting fame. And I had no idea that like my profile and what I was doing would give him that, right? So that's just like, some of the cool stuff that's happening in the space that I like. That was one of the key moments of my career. And there's always been little key moments like that where I'm like, that's what the space is about. You support small creators like that. And I will continue to do so. So yeah, I own all kinds of NFTs. I own a lot of them. From like the public profile I have. And then I would also support people like Anon. And then I hold obviously some Pudgies. I hold Cool Cats, Oni Force. I hold Neo Tokyo Citizens. So yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff I hold and that I've just left there and that I don't even touch. And I mean, yeah, I still continue to rep the space for sure.
You have some Pudgies?
Yeah. Michael's like,
Pudgies.
wow, subtle flex.
Not bad. Some Pudgies.
Yeah. I have to admit, some of them were gifted to me.
Yeah.
And then I just hold them. So like one of my Oni forces were gifted to me, some I purchased. But
all three of us had an Oni force gifted to us by Star Lordy.
Oh, I love him. Yeah, he's a good friend of mine. Yeah.
Nice.
I love him.
He's awesome. Cool.
Yeah, I still have. Do you still have yours, Michael?
Yeah, I have mine. I keep commitments.
Yeah.
No, he was like,
I know. We said 1 year. He said 1 year.
No, it was like 6 months or something. He's like, you have to keep this for 6 months. It's been like over a year.
Anything that gets gifted to me, I just keep. I don't sell anything. Also, mainly because because of all the stuff I've done in the space and because of the stuff I've done at Reddit, I just feel like it would be kind of shitty for me to be given something and then I sell it. Like, like I just, I joined the space to be a collector. Obviously I'm in the space because of how I see the future tech evolving, but mainly to be a collector and to support my community. So for me to sell it just doesn't make sense, especially if some of them were gifted.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool.
So then you were gifted Pudgies. Like, was that back when they were going for really cheap or something? Because they're like 15 ETH or something.
Oh yeah,
crazy.
I wouldn't be gifted something now. Yeah, no.
I'm like,
No,
You
yeah.
got,
And
I assume you got the airdrops and everything. That was pretty nice.
yeah, airdrops,
The
yeah.
claim. Yep.
Yeah,
Pengu.
yeah. It's cool. It's
Nice.
fun being in the
Yeah.
space and, being like, oh,
Hell
cool, I
yeah.
qualify for this.
Right, right.
Let's go.
Totally. Do you
Yeah.
know, do you remember Nate Bear from the Reddit collection? He's a good friend of mine. Nate Bear.
There's so many.
There's
I
so
don't
many.
think
Yeah,
he's
it's all good,
actually,
I'm sure.
I don't think
Go ahead.
he's launched anything recently, right?
It would have been originally when it was
Yeah,
going
he
down.
hasn't he
Yeah.
hasn't launched
Mhm.
anything recently,
No,
but
yeah. Mhm.
I'm friends with Penguin, Tyler Faust, all of them, yeah.
Nice.
So
Cool.
they, and they were actually getting ready to drop some stuff while I was there. So, when I first joined, I guess we can go into like me being with Reddit, but when I first joined Reddit, one of the first things they told me is, hey, we just got done from a massive bull cycle. And so right now we're in a stage where the community definitely needs some TLC. And I knew, because I've been in the space for so long, I knew what the community sentiment was, but I kind of thrive in those situations. So I came in and I kind of took the bull by the horns and I made my announcements, and I famously closed off one of the, which actually was a decision that was made before I even joined, but I closed off one of the subreddits because the one that Oni actually managed was actually just thriving more, which is the r/collectible avatars, or I forget which one it is that he manages. Anyway, and so, first the community kind of rioted, and then when I started making these changes and I started just kind of improving the program quality, how fast the submissions were getting approved, the customer support stuff, and then some of the things that we were doing on the brand enablement side, where we were like doing these fun events where they were getting to participate. When I joined, the collectibles were like on a steep decline down, and then I was able to increase it by 30 to 40%. Which is awesome. I didn't even know that I had done that until somebody from internally was like, what's the work that you're doing to contribute? And I was like, I just gave the community some TLC and like doing some cool shit with them. And honestly, like and the community knows this. And I think that's why there was so much backlash when I left. And like the articles say, like everybody was freaking out. The Reddit CEO's email leaked and they were all messaging him like, why did Bianca leave? Is everything okay? It was really endearing to see like the community support me the way they did, because most of the time in the Web3 space, that's not the case. Everybody's really up in arms. They are constantly talking shit, or they're really upset, or they have something to say. And there were still people that had something to say, but for the most part, like I would say that a good 95% of the comments or just the feedback was like, everybody was just like, what's happening? What's going on? And it was really endearing to see all of that. But yeah, the community is everything. They're the ones that supported me and the role that I had there, and made me look good, because they really are the ones that are the backbone of everything that I do. So yeah, it was awesome, doing what I did.
But did you leave, or they were like making cuts? Sorry, I didn't read the article, but
I can't really go into too many details of what happened there.
okay.
But what I can say is that it's kind of one of those things that happen. One of my coworkers was the part of the Web3 team for X, and then another one was part of the Web3 team for Facebook, right? And so all of these companies at some point will or continue to support Web3, but then some features might just be closed off, right? So, I just think that while I can't speak to the program or what's going to happen, I just think it's one of those natural things that happens. And me particularly, I don't think people understand how hard it is to work in a corporate environment and then also implement Web3, because there's just so many legal, like regulatory issues that, can like affect your work. And for me, I definitely wanted to also go back to my roots, which is like really building Web3 stuff. And it was kind of hard to do that while I was at Reddit, and even working on my own, stuff that I was doing. So I just think it was a combination of things that kind of just, for me, I made the decision that I think it is time to leave, but it was definitely a combination of stuff.
So what's the next move for you, Bianca? What are you kind of working on right now?
So right now, I don't even know if I'm able to say.
She's sitting on 22 pudgy penguins, like, when she doesn't need to be.
No, but they're all guilty, so she can't sell.
I'm definitely taking my time, but there is this one project that I have my eye on that I might consider, because I was at first when I was like, I'm going to take my time, really kind of, explore and then finish building some of the stuff. Like right now, I'm actually I don't know if most people know this, but I'm part of the Web3 Accelerator program for Texas Tech University. I'm part of their board of directors there. And, one of the things that I work on, even outside of Reddit and that I've continued to do is being part of like educational boards that kind of help speed or educate new students that are wanting to build within the space, whether it be like product marketing or engineering or so all that kind of stuff. So I sit on that board. And one of the things that a lot of universities need right now are textbooks. So I'm working on a textbook series that they'll be able to utilize for, being able to research different layer ones, and, what are actual digital assets and how can you build on them. So that's stuff that I'm working on. And then I was like, now that I'm taking a step back, I'm going to finish this book. And then this opportunity, one of my friends is like, hey, we really need you on this project. And it's called space.io. And it's super cool. It's like a gamified NFT marketplace. And then their sister company, Flip.meme, is like, you guys have heard of Pump.fun, right? I mean, that's like all over the place. It's like an NFT version of Pump.fun. And what's really cool is that it really gamifies. Anybody can essentially launch an NFT collection. And what's even cooler is like, if you, let's say that you launch a cryptocurrency and your cryptocurrency gets a certain amount of votes on that platform, you can then essentially make it so that it's the currency of the day. And any NFT that mints will be basically minted on that specific coin. And then it's like 100% revenue sharing. And it's just kind of like the next phase of where I see digital collectibles going, because it's already kind of existed. It's just there isn't a platform out there that has really fine-tuned it. And I know the people at OpenSea because Reddit had a relationship with them. And then I know like a lot of my friends work at Magic Eden, and even they haven't, fine-tuned that. And even Abstract right now, they just launched today. They still are like, to me, I look at some of the stuff and I'm like, that's not necessarily what I think the space needs or what they're doing. So I think that this project really has the opportunity to take market share. So there's somebody that I'm looking at and just kind of like, okay, where should I go next? But primarily right now, before I make that jump, is finishing my book series.
That's exciting. You got a lot of stuff going on. Okay, you guys need to make sure you're following Bianca. She's super plugged into the space right now. MISSSICARIA. That's her Twitter or X handle. Wow, that's crazy that I love that you're so into the space. Like, oh man, there's not that many people left that are super into this space. So I'm really glad we had you on the show.
I'm like looking at the time and I'm like, oh my goodness, I went in like 30 minutes just spieling about all the stuff.
No, it's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. What speaking of Abstract, what's really cool happening over there? What are you seeing over there?
I really I love the Pudgy team. I love the stuff that they're doing. I think that with some maturing of the technology, that it's going to definitely do some numbers. I just think that right now, the way that it's being scaled and built, like the infra and hardware to support it doesn't currently exist. So I'm nervous that they're going to start to run into some like issues. But aside from that, I really love the fact that they're gamifying the creator experience, because I have a lot of experience with that, especially with my time at Reddit. And I think that they're trying to gamify and make the community experience really, really unique, even down to if you have a specific role on their Discord server, you're going to be, qualifying for something, which is cool because you see farmers like trying to farm roles on all types of servers. So I think that aspect they have down. But I don't know, what have you guys learned? Do you guys know what Abstract is or the stuff that they're doing?
We know what it is. The Pudgy team put together is it an L3 in the Arbitrum super system, or is it not an L3?
It's a layer 2 on layer 2. It's on a new blockchain. So I haven't done too much research on the blockchain they chose, but it's a layer 2. So yeah,
I mean, so what chain is that? I didn't know it was on an alt chain. I did hear people bridging today, so I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, yeah, I don't remember the chain, but from the basic research, I can't really say too much because I didn't even dig into their white papers and stuff. But it seems like it's a good chain. It's like a chain that KOLs are talking about. The thing with that though is like you don't know if the chain paid them to talk good about them. So like I always try to. Anytime I see that type of conversation, I try to take it with a grain of salt.
ZK stack, ZK rollup. What's it on? Abstract is a ZK rollup built a ZK stack, but it posts to Ethereum. I don't know. I'll have to look into it. I don't need to do the
they
research
like
now.
posted about
Yep.
it, like, oh, we're proud to be anyway. But yeah, I mean, I think the stuff that they're doing is cool.
Yeah.
I might have a controversial take here, even though again, like much love to
Get
their
it.
team.
Nah, come on. We want controversial taste.
I feel like like a lot of their stuff is hype driven, and it's the same thing for DGods. And I think that people forget that Pudgy actually already launched a game, and they launched, when they did their, and I have their plushies, but when they launched their plushies, you were able to scan the QR code, and if you scan the QR code, you got a certain thing, and then you were able to go to this igloo type of thing, and it was not successful. So for me, it's like you did a really huge launch.
Yeah.
And you were in Walmart and you were in Amazon and you were like trending and doing all these things and you weren't successful there. And now you're kind of repivoting back into Web3, into where your roots are. I don't think that you're going to be much more successful here if you're doing the same thing but packaging it differently. You know what I mean?
Right. Totally.
I almost wish that Pudgies would have been like the next Beanie Baby, because I thought that's what they were, like the direction they were going, where they were going to be kind of like having these really cool, unique, like plushie characters that maybe every year a new one would come out, and it's like really rare. And like if you collect, to me that I was like, oh, that's cool.
That's what Luke is really good at. Getting in the stores, getting the hype going. Yeah, for sure. You're right.
But all the other stuff, I'm like, you guys technically have already done it and it hasn't been successful. And so now you're, what I would like to, without being too cynical, like, what was their thought behind that? Like, why do it again? You know what I mean? But aside from that, they are super well when it comes to like, building an IP that everybody knows. I love the stuff that they're doing on TikTok and the memes that they're creating. But I don't think that success there is going to transition into building a successful game. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like my controversial take on that. But it is what it is.
I hear that. The chain, it's also, they're trying to be the commercial chain, right? The consumer chain. I think that's kind of so I guess they're saying that everything they sell, people put on this chain and it'll all work through there.
Like I said, the technology to support all of the things that they're like trying to tap into it's not supported. It's kind of like, when everybody was watching the Jake Paul fight on Netflix and it kept on buffering like that, it's just bound to happen. You know what I mean? So I think that more projects need to pick the one thing that they're good at and just really like fine tune that, and then maybe pick one or two things to build off of that. But then launching a project and then trying to do it all is just a big fail. And I know firsthand because Nifty's tried to do that. You know what I mean? And then there's been so many projects that have been successful that I've been part of that have tried to do like, oh, we're going to launch this thing and we're going to build this, and next we're going to build this metaverse. And it was like, that's not how you burn through resources super fast. Not only is it not realistic on like the finance side, it's just not realistic on the tech side because the technology doesn't even exist for us to be able to support that. And you have projects like Double Zero Protocol that are building this new, like almost like a DPIN type of thing, that is supposed to like help with that. You have like Vitalik talking about this new node structure and like, talking about how they're going to basically, create this new way so that Ethereum bandwidth is kind of structured in a way so that, when high network events happen, they're able to structure it's like they're currently trying to problem solve that. So when you have a team that's like, we're going to do all the things, it's like, just, I always like to tell people like, just, I'm excited for the fact that they're so ambitious, but just kind of like keep your eye on people who speak that way, because it's not, the technology doesn't exist. It's not that you're even trying to be a hater. It's just that it's unrealistic right now, you know?
Yeah, no, thanks for being honest. That's definitely very interesting. Just maybe not everybody needs a blockchain. Like maybe not everybody needs a whole blockchain. Base could handle a lot. Like if maybe Pudgies could have gone there. I mean, also probably thinking about it, they probably have, I don't know, to be honest with you, but do they have VCs that are probably pushing them? Hey, you guys need a couple tokens. You need to drop a chain. We need to collect these fees.
I think a token was inevitable, I think that was just inevitable. Do they have VCs that are probably pointing them in a way to do something? But probably, I've been in conversations where VCs are like, you need to do this. We're in a lull and we have to try to find a way to like, how are we going to fix this problem? So that might be part of a conversation that happens for sure, because they do happen. But I think that's where like Luca or, whomever is like on the leadership side needs to kind of step in and saying like, hey, that's not the right move. And here's the reason why. If we do this, we can easily, they could have probably had Base build something for them. And then they like, partner with them. And that probably would have been a bigger onboarding experience because Coinbase on their own has a large team and a large marketing resource. And like they would have been able to perhaps premiere them on their app store, whatever. So yeah, like there's different strategies that they could have probably done there that I think would have made more sense for them. And they could have still done like all their abstract stuff just on a chain that could support them. And Base would have been a good partner because Base has a lot of support on the legal side because they've already paved the way for so much regulatory, stuff. So that would have been a good move for them too. So I mean, yeah, that's my opinion there.
Nice.
What do you think about like the whole Bored Ape ecosystem, them acquiring like the Moonbirds and Proof and all that, and just kind of like them feeling like it feels like they're trying to do too much. They have the game, the Dookie Dash, and like they just have all this stuff going on. And I'm curious your thoughts on them and if you've ever had a Bored Ape as well. Like are you a Bored Ape person or you're kind of like
I've never had a Bored Ape. Yeah, I've never had a Bored Ape. Yeah, I know their team and I actually know Daniel, who used to be one of the artists who was in charge of actually collecting and designing, or not collecting, sorry, designing before he left. And, one of the key frustrations that I have with like the Moonbirds and all of that is that they had a ridiculous amount of money. They could have done so much. And at this point, I don't know what they can do that hasn't already been done. You know what I mean? Like it's Pudgies has done so much. DGots have done so much with the way limited resources than they currently have. And I like with situations like that, you kind of sit back and you're like, where is the metaverse that you promised, right? Like you didn't need to promise that, but you did promise it. So where is it? And just they
where's my clubhouse in Miami?
I mean, they promised so much, and at this point, I think that there's been a lot of damage done that I don't even know what they could possibly do, like Moonbird specifically, for them to get back, the community sentiment they once had. But their marketing strategy in the beginning was intense and insane. I love the roadmap that they had laid out, and then it just kind of shit the bed, right? And what's funny is like the old co-founder for Nifty's is actually good friends with the people at Moonbirds and all of them. And so, shout out to him, but he was a hardcore collector of them and Squiggles and all of them, and he was frustrated as well. So I mean, it's one of those situations where that's one of the conversations I have, like when I was telling you guys that there's been so much money spent in the space that could have been used in so many different ways. And there's one of the examples that I give is like they could have easily partnered with the Nike or like they had the money to be able to actually partner and like give resources to large corporations to do cool things. And they didn't. They could have probably partnered with I don't know, they could have partnered with all kinds of people, and they didn't. They just like for whatever reason they just killed it. And it could have been a VC thing too, right? Where they were like, hey, that's not the direction we want to go. But like, I wish I want to be a fly on that wall because they had so much money. And I genuinely don't know where it went. And neither does the community, and the community is just kind of upset. So I don't even know what they could do to get community sentiment back. And I think they know that as well. So I hope they come back, and I hope they do something.
I mean, they did do that Adidas collab, and they had some collabs, and then it's like Nike bought out Artifacts, right? But then they killed it off. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff happening.
They they've done the collabs, but then what?
Yeah.
Like then they just kind of let it die. Like they didn't even do anything with that. They didn't plan like I want to license a shoe for, or a drop with you guys every year where we do something cool and we partner with like, all of these different like they could have really done stuff like that. Not just with them. They could have probably done that with other really large companies. And they didn't. And, but that was also not really part of their the digital and phygital kind of was part of the roadmap. But like, that's what I mean by sometimes projects try to do way too much and they just need to pick the one thing. Like if you were going to do the sneaker, then do it right. Like partner with a Nike or Adidas and then do multiple collections and or a series of that. And then like make sneakerheads being part of your community and your community strategy and like build this whole thing about it. Go to all the events, like, but they didn't. They did all kinds of other stuff, and the community was like all over the place and trying to like. So again, I just feel like they did too much, and it ended up just kind of like deflating and not really. I don't even know what they're doing now. To be honest, I haven't even followed up.
I think when I think of Bored Apes and like what they done successful, I think of the parties because they threw some amazing parties. And I think that's kind of what they were good at, is like kind of throwing gatherings and stuff. And then, they had their community kind of branch off and start throwing their own gatherings. And our friends, Swicky and Peter, who we had on, like, they did a whole Bored Ape party. And it's just, I think the parties was kind of what that was like the main thing.
Hey, don't knock the parties,
Yeah.
like I actually talk about that in my book about how, it might be controversial and some people might not see the benefit of that, or I guess the ROI of that, but having an NFT that gives you access to events or to some sort of membership, we see that now with country clubs. You see rich white people going to a country club, spending thousands of dollars a month to network with other rich, so like, what's the difference with this? Like, you own a Bored Ape Yacht Club and you go to an event in LA and oh my God, Eminem is there. That alone is very powerful because you're now able to say that you're part of a networking cabal, if you will, and some people might find that useful, but Bored Ape Yacht Club did it really cool. And that's what they did. Like, they were a really cool brand that did these really cool events that everybody wanted to be a part of, but you couldn't be a part of it because you had to own a Bored Ape Yacht Club. And so then Eminem and all these other celebrities were also purchasing them, and they were being part of this community. So I don't knock projects that do that. What I do knock is when a project is really good at something like that, and then they're like, we're going to build the next metaverse and we're going to be the top dog, and then they just abandon it. Right. So like, if you're going to be good at the events and that's all you're known for, and then be good at that thing. And then if you launch a coin, maybe partner with a few other brands, because that's what I did, the BD, and especially towards the end with Reddit, doing the brand enablement feature, partner with Ticketmaster. Anybody that owns a Bored Ape Yacht Club gets, discounts. That you can definitely do things like that, where owning your digital collectible gave you access to a suite of different things, right? But they didn't. It's just like with them, they launched their coin, everybody was hyped. They thought it was going to go to like $1 million, and then it tanked and it hasn't recovered. So it's like, I don't knock some of the silly, like, oh, they just are known for events. Like, I think it's actually pretty cool. They're part of a networking, circle that I'm not a part of.
Yeah, your network is your net worth, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think events are the best utility for NFT projects. I love going to events. I've been to a lot of the Bored Ape ones. Doodles, I love their events. I think they do a really good job with those too. Like, I mean, I think it's a great perk, but yeah, you spread yourself too thin if you try to do, too much.
Yeah.
Michael had his Bored Ape for a while, and then he sold
Bored
out
Ape
of
for a
it.
long time. Yeah, I sold it.
Yeah, my girl
Saw
Storm,
the
I think
meme.
she
I saw the
still
meme.
has it. I think, yeah.
Yeah,
She's
I
like
think
one
she
of the.
does.
She was, I think she does, and she was like the OG mentor. Like that was her mint.
Oh, let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
So like I say, it brings me back to us opening a conversation. Like I think a lot of people have had their learning lessons, and then I see some continuing to commit the same ones where I'm like, come on guys, like we should have learned this a couple of cycles ago, and I think that there's still a lot of room to grow in this space. There's a lot of tech that still needs to evolve so that we can continue to do all the cool stuff that's happening in the space. Like right now, people don't even know that eBay is building their own blockchain so that they can certify their like luxury goods. That's super sick.
Really?
Yeah. So like there's
Yeah.
a lot of cool stuff like that happening. And it's like, that's the stuff that I joined the space for, like those types of applications, right? All the fun NFTs and like the stuff I was doing at Reddit, like that's cool too. But the reason why I joined the space is for the cool things that like these enterprise clients are now starting to adopt, like having an eBay build their own chain or building a solution so that way they can stop the counterfeit side. Like that's powerful. And so, that's the stuff that I'm excited to see. And like, right now, Elon supposedly there's like a rumor going around that he's shopping blockchain so that they can also stop fraud in the government. And so that's the stuff that I'm really excited for it to continue to build. And I think that especially in this administration, you're going to start to see a lot more projects on the infra side, like, like digitally backing actual real world assets, which is what I'm excited for sure.
Yeah, it would be nice if we could see what our tax dollars actually go towards. If we could see where.
No,
I think it would
They'll
piss
never
me
do
off.
that, though. They'll never do that.
I think it would make me
God.
mad. I'd be like,
Too much
what? It went to this thing?
Yeah, what? This politician got paid $2 million just as a little vacation bonus? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I don't even want to know. Could you imagine if like you're like, oh, there was an event in Iowa and they ordered special croissants, and so you had your taxpayer money went towards that? It's like, what?
Right.
There's all the things.
Yeah.
Should we do a gas wars, Jenny? I didn't prepare questions, but I know I can make up 5. What do you think about that? It's been a while, but
yeah, gas wars. Let me see.
we
Let me pull up.
put Bianca through it.
Yeah, so Gas Wars is our rapid fire question segment where we each ask 5 rapid fire questions that don't really necessarily have to do with the NFT space, just more kind of fun, get to know you type of deal, a bit random. And yeah, oh my gosh, I guess I'll come up with these on the spot too. I thought I had my list.
No.
Yeah. Let me
you want me to start while you're thinking?
You start.
All right. What is your number 1 travel bucket list destination?
Ooh, Tokyo.
Nice.
Tokyo.
I've been. Tokyo's amazing.
I'm a big anime fan.
Oh, nice.
And I'm a big gamer. Like, I don't know if you can tell from my headset. I know the viewers can't, but like, if you look at my setup, if I were to send you guys a picture, it's 6 screens, and like, I built it myself, and so I'm a huge gamer.
Look over here.
Oh, nice. Man, I wish I
Michael
could
is
show
6.
you. It's like mine's almost like that. It's cool. So, and mine has all the fancy Razer lights in the desk, and so I would just totally nerd out on all the gamer, like all the like they have like the Monster Hunter like lounges and cafes there, and like I would totally just like spend all day eating there for sure.
What do you play? Like, what's your favorite game?
Right now, my husband and I are playing Enshrouded. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's a brand new.
We're not gamers, but
yeah, Enshrouded is like it's almost like a D&D virtual, like online D&D, like a new game that just dropped. Aside from that,
D&D?
Dungeons and Dragons?
Come on. Oh, my bad. I don't even know. I know nothing. Okay, my bad.
Jenny's like 22 years old. She's
me Googling Dungeon. I'm 29. I'm 29. All right. Can we put some respect on my name? I'm a little older than that.
Call of Duty. Yeah. I have so many games. Fun fact. I used to be an esports gamer, and I was part of what is it called? Fanboy Gaming in San Diego. I'm now in Florida, but I was a professional gamer. Yeah.
Wow, you're a professional gamer full time?
Wow.
I was back then. I'm not. I'm definitely rusty now, but yeah.
Our second professional gamer on the podcast.
Who was our first one?
What was his name?
Oh,
our first guest
guy,
no,
right?
from Cool Cats, right?
Oh, Extreme Times?
I think so.
He wasn't a gamer?
Andy would know, wasn't he? Somebody was a professional.
It was the fungible fun guy. It was Henry.
Might have been esports.
Remember?
Henry. Okay. Yeah. It was Henry. You're right.
Anyways, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
This is supposed to be rapid fire. Okay. Let me see. What is one of your proudest achievements?
Having my children, for sure. If it's not like professional achievements, honestly, the most recent one I can think off the top of my head is getting to work with Avenged Sevenfold. Like, and he's now a good friend of mine in the space.
Their Death Bats project.
Yeah, like I literally was chatting with him yesterday because they're getting ready to drop a documentary on that. And so he was like, "What do you think? What do you think this is?" So, there's a lot of cool people I've met in the space, and like I sit back at all the conversation I've had. I've had conversations with people at Tesla, Adidas, Nike, and I look back and I'm like, that's all because of the stuff I've done in Web3. So like I would say that is probably my more like on the professional side, one of my prouder achievements is the fact that I built a name for myself. And mind you, I didn't graduate from college, and I am a board of director for Texas Tech University, leading that. And I've worked at Reddit, and I've done all these great things because of the work I've done in Web3. And so that's why I'm such an advocate for, building in Web3, because it's such a new tech, and, people that are younger, especially in college right now, that are like wanting to actually build a career off of this and learn it the right way, like, and like going to school and actually trying to build and problem solve while they're in school. I'm like, make all the mistakes you can right now, because eventually you'll start building like how I did. It might not take you 10 years like it took me. It might take you half of that, but you'll be able to get experiences that you probably won't have in the traditional world because it's so competitive. And now in Web3, it is still competitive. But yeah, I would definitely say that my children and the work I've done in Web3 in general has brought me to a cool space.
Nice. I love that Death Bats project. I'm a ticket broker, so I watched how they did that, and they gave the best tickets to their fans who had the NFT. I thought that was brilliant. That was like such a great way to do it.
Yeah,
and they were the
and
first
he's
people to
getting
work
ready
with
to.
2D.
I don't know if I can reveal, but he's getting ready to do some cool stuff in February. So if you guys aren't part of his Discord and stuff, like definitely be part of it.
Yeah, nice, love it.
Okay, my question: what is your favorite flavor of ice cream?
It's one from, I don't know if it's Ben and Jerry's. I think it is Ben and Jerry's. They have like this strawberry cheesecake graham cracker one, and it's so good. It's probably it's because it has actual chunks of cheesecake, and it's like, oh, leaves you in a coma.
I feel like Bianca has the answer to every question. Like, you know how there's some guests that are like, oh my gosh, you threw me off. I don't know. I feel like if we asked her anything, she'd
You have to come quick. You know
Yeah,
how
I
many
know.
spaces I've been part of that, like, or like just in general, how many Discord chats I've been part of that I've answered these exact questions sometimes. Like, we're just hanging, shooting the shit with like community members, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm just having fruit roll up. And it's like, what's your favorite? I've had so many conversations.
Okay. What is one of your favorite books?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Oh yeah, we stumped her. Let's go.
She's like, didn't you hear I said I didn't graduate college?
No, she's writing a book right now, actually, right?
I've definitely am self-taught. Oh, you know what? What's the name of it? I just finished listening to it on Audible.
You're more of an Audible type of person, huh?
The Talent Code. So
The Talent Code?
And that book rewired the way that I think. And the Talent Code, it was meant for like sports athletes, but then they ended up kind of restructuring the book, especially the one that I have, for it to kind of apply for a broader term. But essentially, it's these like super smart people. I don't know if they're like physicians or what their actual field of study is, but they essentially go down to hotspots, is what they call them, and they are learning that in specific areas there are these like overproduction of what they call like prodigies, and they're trying to find out if prodigies are made, like if they're just born that way, or if they're a product of their environment. And like, to make the long story short, the Talent Code basically goes into the fact that there were these hotspots in like Argentina for individuals that were really good at soccer, and then there were these hotspots in specific areas that were really good with music and different types of talents. And what these positions are, these scientists ended up studying, is that it actually, prodigies are not made. It's like a 0.0001% that they're actually born that way. And usually it's a product of your environment due to repetition. So what they found is that through their study is that these individuals that were athletes that were being born like that, they considered prodigies, and that were, making it all the way up into the leagues, were because they were really having fun and playing soccer every single day, that their muscle memory, they basically practiced so much that they had no option but to succeed. Like, their body chemical makeup, when you practice something so much, you have no option but to succeed. And so, where that, this goes into is the fact that even in your professional career, whether it be in Web3, whether it's a gaming, whether it be whatever, as long as you continue to practice this thing that you're passionate about, you have no option to succeed, because your body chemical makeup, you have this specific chemical. I forgot what they name it in the book, but it's basically makes it so that there's no option for you to continue to succeed. And so that book I recommend to all the college students that I talk to, or people in general, because when you're going through a lull, or when you're going through something in your lifetime, and you feel like perhaps like you haven't found the niche thing it's probably because you actually haven't stuck to something long enough. And so like that's probably one of my favorite books, because it definitely rewired the way that I think or I approached her and stuff.
I love that. That's kind of like Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, if you know that book. Like, he kind of talks about, it's like repetition, and it's the famous 10,000 hours, like just putting in the work. And the more you do something, the more your brain kind of has those neural pathways that are just carved out, and it makes it so much easier. And even they say, like, your brain can't tell the difference between an imagined experience and a real one, like a vividly imagined experience. Because I remember I studied psychology in college, and I took this like neurological class, and the teacher was like super just into like learning about all that kind of stuff. And he was like, I don't know. Anyways, he would tell us all these like fun facts. And he was like, if you vividly imagine something before you do it, basically it creates these grooves in your brain and like the path for it to happen easier. So like anything that you want to do, like before you start doing it, you have to like imagine it, and it'll make it easier. And then once you start doing it, and then it's like, it just becomes easier and easier every time because your brain already knows the experience. And it's just,
it's the book also talks about that, how, you know, they put two different types of individuals, like these group A and group B. And group A, they had them think about what they needed to improve on, and group B just to continue to practice, to not even think about it. And group A was to, like, what the percentage increase in what they were doing and like actually becoming better was significantly higher than the other one. So it kind of goes into what you're talking about, where it's like, even if you're meditating, like, okay, before this interview with you guys, I'm going to make sure I don't say whatever. It's just, it like basically you're training your brain to, or programming your brain and body to just be successful in whatever the thing that you have set your mind on. So I just think it's cool, because you can tell kids, like, just give it your all, you're going to eventually succeed. But then when they break down the actual science behind it, it's like, oh, I really can't fail unless I actually really want to fail. So I think that's such a powerful tool. Like, if there's something that you knew you couldn't fail in, like, what is it that you would do? And so they basically kind of tell you, well, what if I could tell you that you couldn't fail in anything, and here's why. So yeah, it's a super cool book to listen to, especially when you're going through a transition, or you feel down, or you just want to boost in, like, productivity, whatever. It's a good book to listen to.
I love that. I love reading new books. I'm adding that one to the list. Thanks.
The Talent Code.
Talent Code. Yep.
Who is your favorite stand-up comedian?
Oh man, I really like Tom Segura, his new stuff. I love Tom Segura. My husband likes Bert, and so he and I love listening to the podcast together sometimes.
I bet. Yeah.
But I love Tom and his wife. I love listening to their podcast because their banter is so hilarious. And I love that they just don't care. And so they have this one segment where they'll, like, people that are hypersensitive on the internet or are complaining, the way that they go in on them is just so hilarious, because it's not mean, but you can also tell that they're kind of poking fun at it. And I just love, like, humor that's like that.
Yeah, they're really funny. Those are some good ones. I like it.
What is something that most people don't know about you?
I'm a golfer, and I used to be a professional salsa dancer. Yeah. So.
Okay, professional salsa dancer, professional gamer. What else were you professional in?
I think it's just my ADHD tendency. Like, I'll hyperfixate on a new thing. And right now my hyperfixation is golf, and that one has stuck so far. But yeah, for a while I was like hyperfixated on salsa and then gaming. And then now it's golf right now, which is fun because my husband is the one that got me into golf. So he and I play that together, and we play video games together. So yeah, those two things.
Nice.
That's fun.
During our pre-show, you said that you went viral, obviously, for leaving Reddit, but you also went viral another time before. What was that about?
For Nifties. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys remember the Game of Thrones launch.
I don't remember that.
Oh my God. You guys have to Google
bit.
it. Look up Game of Thrones NFT, and because they're still in business, so I don't want to out them because I'm friends with them to this day.
Out them. Just kidding.
No, the agency that we partnered with to design the Game of Thrones collection, when we first saw the Game of Thrones collection, we saw, like, the hero SKUs is what we call them, which is basically like the set of characters that are going to be the ones that we like, that's what we're going to use on Twitter, and that's what we're going to promote, and that's what's going to. So when we saw those, we were like, damn, this is sick. And then we met with our core fan base that core fan bases from the Game of Thrones like franchise, and then the core fans from Nifty's, and we'd have them look at the roadmap and the art, everything checked out. And then when we launched the actual collection, some of them came out with extra long like salad fingers, and the faces were
I'm
warped.
looking at that now, the salad fingers.
Oh, no.
And I went viral for that because, or I wouldn't say I specifically, but like our team went viral. And it was the craziest experience. That was the first time I was like, oh my God, this is like, and like you talk about it to anybody in the NFT space and they know what I'm talking about. And they'll be like, oh my God, yeah, that's like one of the, like a famous thing that's happened in the NFT space. So like, it's funny because I'm kind of proud of it. But it's also one of the things, like when it was happening to me in that moment, it was like, oh my God, I'm getting like sent death threats and I didn't even fucking make the art. Like,
Oh my
and like
God.
you're
How did
trying to
pass through quality control though, those images?
we hired a studio to do that, you know, and that was a learning lesson for us. Is like that's a learning lesson for any profession actually, is even if you hire somebody to do something for you, when it's an important launch like that, make sure you double check work and that you make sure you know, because I don't know how that slipped or why that happened. Like we don't know.
It's
And
so crazy.
all of the blame fell on us. And it was
Yeah.
just like, how could like Nifty's botch this? And it was a botch. And it's like, how could
Yeah.
a large platform, you know, with such a massive IP during the time when the, you know, the series was still rolling and launching, like botch such and you Google NFTs and Game of Thrones, and that's one of the collections. And it's like, we went viral for that. So yeah, that was fun.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It was like, there were so many. There were some that actually, like, because we ended up pausing the mint and stuff was still minting out. And like, we were like, holy shit, what the hell is still left? Like, if these are like, we had like the mint was still going and we paused the mint to fix stuff. And we like, when those things started getting revealed and we looked at some of the things that were still like, did not get mint, like we still, it was way worse. There was other stuff in there where I'm like, oh my God, this would have been so bad if this continued to let go. And so, and part of me feels like I wish we almost just let it go, because that would have been so freaking hilarious.
It's like what Kevin from Pixelmon, remember? And it looked so bad but it was so bad that it ended up
going
really
viral. Yeah. I think that specific NFT is still worth it's still worth a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like a famous thing that happened in the space. It's like, you know, part of our history almost, like,
right.
So yeah, and I remember telling the team that, like, you know, don't they were like, you know, you have to be very, they ended up hiring like a crisis PR guy that's like, you know, anybody that has comments, and it's like, oh my God, guys, this is the NFT space we're talking about. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, embrace it. We fucked up, and like, you know, if these people really want their money back or whatever, it's like, if we want to answer that, okay, great. Like, you guys don't want me to answer certain questions. The community knows this is like a big thing. Everybody's flooding our, how are we supposed to, like, we should answer this. And they were like, no. So to me, again, a learning lesson is just like, embrace it. It actually made it more viral, and it was super cool, and it was funny.
Yeah.
And like, to me, it made it cooler, the fact that happened. It's almost like, you know, when a misprint happens, that's the way I took it.
Yeah. I always think that's such a miss when like companies are like, no, let's just ignore it and not. And it's like,
that is the worst thing.
Yeah. It's like, that's always the worst. Like, why can't we talk about this? You know, even if it's bad, companies don't like to talk about things that are bad.
How cute is your puppy? Yeah, I agree with you, Jenny. It was, I just wish we would have embraced it more. And I was definitely on the side of like, guys, we fucked up. Let's embrace it. Us trying to hide it. The community knows we fucked up. What are we trying to hide? You know, yeah, it was gnarly.
Nice.
Okay, I think it's Mike. Oh yeah, what is?
Yeah, this is your fourth.
What is one of your favorite musical artists?
Avenged Sevenfold. You know, not just because I'm friends with him, but you know, he's definitely one of my favorite artists. I really like a lot of. I mean, I can go into mariachi. I'm Mexican, so I love mariachi stuff.
Let's go. I'm half Mexican.
Yeah, so I love that. I'm trying to think of other stuff. Like, what is it that I'm recently listening to? No, yeah, I've been listening to a lot of Avenged Sevenfold lately, just because like that's what I listen to when I'm working out, and then like when I'm lifting, And if it's not that, it's like Carol G, things like that.
Yes, I love Carol G.
Yeah, she's awesome.
I love listening to Spanish because I'm like, I'm not fully, I don't know. I understand like half things. So sometimes I just like that I don't know what they're saying. I'm like, it's always a vibe. Bad Bunny. I love Bad Bunny.
I love Bad Bunny too. Disney stuff.
Yeah, some good songs.
All right, my last question.
I guess I'll do another. A new puppy.
Santa brought her.
Oh, okay,
she's
nice.
So cute.
This is Mango.
Mango. Oh, that's right. Okay, you did tell me about Mango.
This is
so
Mango.
Cute. So cute.
Oh yeah. So I asked you about travel, what your bucket list is. What's your favorite city that you've ever traveled to?
I'll tell you my favorite and then my least favorite, and I'll start with my least favorite was Dubai.
Nice.
I hated Dubai. I just felt like it was over glorified Vegas almost. I didn't enjoy it. And I was also there for work, so I was just there on business, and it was just like, oh, I wish I could have perhaps done more sightseeing. Maybe my opinion would change. And then the best city I've gone to, or best place I've traveled to, probably someplace in Mexico. I've gone to some really beautiful places in Mexico. Morelia was very beautiful. Guadalajara was super beautiful. I mean, yeah, I've been to many places in Mexico, and what I like about Mexico is that you can get jungles and tropical, and you can also get deserts there, so it's kind of cool.
Yep. Yeah, it's amazing. I'm actually going to be in Mexico City for Memorial Day weekend.
Oh yeah, Mexico City is awesome. You have to. The best thing about Mexico City is trying the street food vendors.
Of course.
Yeah, their food is so good.
Nice.
That I
love that.
They're also probably on like one of the cool places that I've been to also.
Yeah, it's an amazing city. I've been there once before, 3 or 4 years ago. But we're gonna go with the whole family this time.
I just went to Durango last year.
I don't think I've been there.
Yeah. No. And then my mom was born in Mexico, and she has a bunch of family that she hadn't been back since she was a baby. So we went there, and like we were just seeing a bunch of family that I didn't know, and it was so awesome. It was so fun. My last question is, what is a good just life advice that you live by?
There's a few. I think the one that I shared with you about, with the book, the talent code. I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned is that there's no such thing as failing. It's just you either give up or you stop trying. There's really, your genetic code will not allow you to fail as long as you continue to continue to build upon yourself. I think that's one lesson. And then another one is that if it's not meant for you, it's not, and you can't force it. And I take that with friendships, with career, with opportunities, with conversations I'm having, and I let go of anything that's not meant for me. And then probably the third one that I also live by is like, always remember the human behind everything that you do. And that's allowed me, especially in my career in Web3, to understand that when you have a super passionate community member or a super passionate individual working on a specific project, to remember the human that you're dealing with, because in this space, you're dealing with a lot of emotions sometimes, especially during like different cycles, and learning that it's not personal is probably going to take you a long way. So I think those three things are like something that I definitely live by.
I love that. And I love that it was a nice like recap as well of, several of the points you made during the pod. That was great.
We talked about a lot, and thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
What a great conversation. Totally. We went long and everything. Jen usually cuts us off in an hour, like, damn.
Oh, yeah. You guys made it so fun that I didn't even realize we went over. So, yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you so much for coming on.
Of course.
Sweet. Well, thank you, Bianca, for joining us. Make sure you guys follow her on Twitter. We'll have the links in the show notes. And until next time, see you in the next episode. Peace.
Thank you for tuning in to the NFT Catcher Podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and learned something new about the exciting world of NFTs. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you really love what you're hearing, please leave us a rating and review on your favorite platform. If you want to stay up to date with the latest news and insights from the NFT space, be sure to follow us on all the socials at NFT Catcher Pod. You can follow Jennifer at Jennifer_pseudo and Michael at NFTicket. I'm your producer, Andy, and I'm at AJC254. Our theme song's by It's Just Los. We always appreciate your feedback and support, which helps us reach more people and bring you informative and engaging content about NFTs. We look forward to bringing you more great NFT content in future episodes. Thanks for listening. Peace.